The signal that shook the star sky of Velaris Prime was burning. Flames danced across the purple sky. Giant grunt ships moved above the ground, dropping black metal machines that looked like crawling insects. These machines didn't speak. They didn't scream. They just destroyed. Cities that had stood for thousands of years were now piles of dust and smoke. The Velari people were warriors, proud and ancient. Their skin shimmered silver, and their minds were strong. But now, they were afraid. Inside the last command tower, High Commander Reed stood in silence. His 4 eyes stared at the battlefield from the glass wall. Behind him, screens showed red alerts flashing everywhere. Each red light meant a lost city, a lost people. "We've lost contact with Sector 9, said an officer. Commander Wren did not turn. In Sector 8, gone, sir. Wren closed his eyes. His voice was calm, but heavy. Prepare the beacon. A younger soldier looked up, shocked. The beacon, sir, the intergalactic distress signal. Yes, Wren replied. We are not just fighting a war anymore. We are facing extinction. The officer pressed a red button. A satellite moved into position above the dying planet. A deep humming sound filled the room. Then light. A message was sent out into the stars, across galaxies, past suns and frozen planets. The message was simple, but powerful. This is the Velari Alliance. We are under attack by a force we cannot stop. We call out to any intelligent species, to any brothers among the stars, help us, before our flame is gone forever. And then they waited. Days passed. No reply came. Most advanced civilizations had already ignored the Velari. Some had fallen silent. Some had been destroyed by the Grun long ago. It felt like hope was lost. Until one screen blinked. A signal. The room went silent. Where is it from? Asked Wren. The officer zoomed in on the data. It's strange. A primitive system. Spiral galaxy. Sector 331. Name. The officer paused. It's from a planet called Earth. Wren frowned. Never heard of it. They are not part of any alliance. Their technology is behind. Barely spacefaring. Not even Type 1 civilization. Everyone in the room grew quiet. A few whispered among themselves. Commander Wren raised his hand. Play the message. The signal was simple. Not a video. Not an army. Just one sentence. Translated automatically by the system. You call for predators. We're coming. The room stayed silent for several seconds. A scientist blinked. Predators? Another officer laughed. Nervous. Maybe it's a joke. No, Wren said. He turned away from the screen, deep in thought. Predators don't joke. He ordered a scan of Earth's biology. The results were strange, confusing. Earth's dominant species, humans, were classified as mammals. Bipedal, soft skin, no claws, no wings, no armor. But something in the data made the computers freeze. Humans had hunted apex predators to extinction. Using only sticks, fire, and teamwork, humans had survived ice ages, built civilizations, fought endless wars, and still kept growing. Humans had a brain designed not for peace but for adaptation, for survival, for dominance. One line in the database made the Velari commander stop. Humans are not the fastest, not the strongest, but they are the most dangerous. The Velari generals met in secret chambers. Some wanted to ignore the message. Others were desperate for any help. Finally, Wren made his decision. Send our location. Give them clearance. Let them come. A few days later, a ship arrived. It was small, black, unmarked. No weapons visible. No banners. No symbols. The Velari gathered at the landing site. Soldiers, scientists, even children stood behind the walls, watching. The ship opened. Out walked for humans. One woman, 3 men. They didn't smile. They didn't speak. They wore dark armor, light, flexible, deadly. One of them, a man with cold eyes and a scar across his face, walked forward. He looked at the Velari commander and said only one thing. Where are the targets? Wren hesitated. You're the reinforcements. The man nodded. We are Apex Unique. That's all you need to know. A scientist whispered to his colleague. Just 4. That's it. The Earth ship had brought no army, no fleet, just a small group of soldiers. But as night fell, the ground shook. The Grun attacked again. The Velari prepared their defenses. They expected the humans to hide, to wait. Instead, the Apex team walked straight into the battlefield. No hesitation. And then screams, but not from the Velari. The Grun began to fall, one by one. Fast off flames. Smoke. Movement too fast to see. A sniper shot from 2 miles away. A blade slicing through armor. A shadow moving in the dark. When the smoke cleared, 100 Grun were lying broken on the ground. The Apex team stood in silence. The Valari stared. Stunned, Commander Rean whispered, "What are they?" The human leader, wiping blood from his knife, turned around and replied, "You call for predators." We answered. The battlefield was still smoking. Black pieces of broken Grun machines lay scattered across the land. The ground was soaked with oil, metal, and silence. Valari soldiers stepped forward slowly, still unsure if the danger was truly gone. But the humans, they were already walking away, calm, cold, almost bored. Commander Reed stood beside his officers, eyes wide. They didn't even break formation. He whispered, "They move like shadows, like death." A younger Valari officer turned and asked, "Commander, who are they really?" Reed answered in a low voice, "That's what I plan to find out. Far across the galaxy, in a secret base hidden under Earth's southern ocean, a room full of monitors glowed with green lights. An old human man with gray hair and a cybernetic eye watched the live footage. His name was Director Kane, the man behind a secret military program that most humans didn't even know existed, Project Apex. Beside him stood a younger scientist, trembling with shock. "Sir," the scientist said, "the Apex team eliminated 112 Grun in under 7 minutes. No injuries, minimal ammo. This is not natural." Kane didn't blink. "Of course not. They're not meant to be." He turned to a screen showing the profiles of the deployed units. Apex 01, Nova, cold, intelligent, tactical leader, expert in battlefield control. Apex 02, Blitz, unpredictable and fast, uses chaos like a weapon. Apex 03, Ash, silent, distant, elite sniper, never misses. Apex 04, Roar, towering brute, designed for close combat. Kane looked at the screen and spoke, mostly to himself. "They are not soldiers. They are predators wearing human skin. We built them for one purpose, to win wars that should never be winnable." Back on Valaris Prime, Commander Rean had invited the Apex team into the war room. A long glass table showed glowing maps of the battlefield. Only Nova, the team leader, entered. The rest of the team stayed outside, silent, still alert. Nova took no seat. He just stood, arms behind his back. Rean tried to break the silence. "I'd have never seen warriors fight like you before. We battled across systems, but the Grun, they're machines, merciless. We've lost billions." Nova looked straight at him. "You lost because you still fight like people who want to survive. We fight like creatures who already know they're going to die and want to take everyone. With us," Rean frowned, "that's a dark way to live." Nova's eyes didn't blink. "It's not life, it's programming." The room grew quiet. Even the air felt heavier. Rean finally asked, "What is Project Apex? Who are you really?" Nova walked toward the map slowly. "Project Apex is Earth's answer to extinction. We learned long ago diplomacy doesn't work with monsters, so we became monsters ourselves." He pointed to a red zone on the map. "This base is the next target. Your troops will defend. Ours will hunt." "You mean attack?" "No," Nova said coldly, "hunt." Meanwhile, outside, Blitz and Roar sat on a broken piece of rubble. A Valari child, maybe 12 years old, stared at them from behind a wall. Roar noticed and offered a protein bar. "Hungry, little one?" The child stepped forward, nervous. "You're not like the others. Because we don't look like heroes?" "No," the child whispered. "Because even the Grun seem afraid of you." Roar chuckled, low and deep. "They should be." Ash stood nearby, watching the sky. Her rifle was slung over her shoulder, but her eyes never rested. She said nothing, but in her silence, there was more weight than most words. Blitz tossed a rock and caught it midair. "You know what's funny?" he said. "They think we came to save them." Roar looked up. "Didn't we?" Blitz shrugged. "No, we came to kill Grun. Saving these shiny silver aliens, just a bonus." Ash finally spoke, her voice soft like wind. "I don't think it's about saving or killing anymore. It's about who we become when the galaxy is watching." The three of them grew quiet. Night fell. The Valari camp was silent. Even the wind didn't blow. That's when it happened. Without warning, Grun machines crawled up from underground tunnels, dozens, then hundreds. Screams echoed. Weapons fired. Valari scrambled to defend. But the Apex team was already moving. Nova shouted orders in short bursts. Blitz south tunnel, Ash elevated position. Roar protect the reactor. No fear, no hesitation. Ash climbed a tower and picked off ground with one shot at a time. Her bullets found weak spots in their armor like magic. Blitz ran through the chaos like a ghost, planting explosives and confusing the enemy lines. Roar picked up a broken piece of ship metal and used it as a shield, smashing Grunt apart with his bare fist. Nova moved like wind and steel, cutting through enemies, calculating every move. Within 20 minutes, the battlefield was silent again. The Grunt were gone. Velari soldiers stood in shock. Some cheered, some cried. Nova wiped a thin line of blood from his cheek. That was a warm-up. Back in the command center, Rin looked at the battle reports. His hands trembled. For humans. 4, and they wiped out a whole swarm. He whispered to himself, what kind of planet creates these beings? A nearby Velari scholar responded softly, almost like a prayer. A death world. Rin turned. What? The scholar nodded. It's what some ancient species called it, Earth. A place where everything fights. The plants, the animals, even the weather. A world where only the strongest minds and most adaptable creatures survive. Rin looked at the window where the humans stood. For the first time in years, he felt hope, but also fear, because the predators were here, and they were human. The Velari soldiers had always believed in honor. They marched in neat lines. They followed ancient battle codes. They waited for orders before striking. Their weapons were sharp, but their traditions were sharper. But after what they saw on the southern front, after the Apex humans wiped out an entire Grunt swarm, in under half an hour everything changed. The old rules didn't apply anymore. Commander Reed stood on the war balcony overlooking the dry canyons of Velari's Prime. Dust storms blew across the cracked ground, hiding danger behind every gust. His second in command, Tarek, walked up beside him. The scouts returned. The Grunt are gathering near the mineral caverns. That's where they'll strike next. Rin didn't respond right away. He simply stared at the horizon. And the humans? Tarek asked carefully. They've already left, Reed said quietly. Tarek blinked. Left? Left for where? Rin turned toward him. The hunt has begun. Hours earlier. While the Velari were still planning their next defense move, the Apex unit had already gone deep into Grunt territory. No permission, no backup. Just for shadows moving across the desert like they belonged there. Nova crouched on a rocky ledge, looking through an old alien spyglass. He marked positions with a red laser on the canyon walls. Blitz stood upside down on a rock, chewing dried meat. There are over 100 of them, Grunt drones, walkers, and one heavy mech. Just saying. Normal soldiers would run away. Nova didn't look at him. Good thing we're not normal. Roar cracked his knuckles. Can I break the mech? Ash spoke softly from behind a boulder. If you can get close before it sees you. Nova finally stood up. Same rules as always. We hit fast. No mercy. Save ammo. Break their rhythm. Ash first blood. Blitz chaos. Roar keep pressure. Let's send a message. The team vanished into the storm. Meanwhile, the Velari command base was in panic. Sir, we can't find the humans, an officer told Rin. Their ship's locator is offline. Did they leave? No, I think they went ahead. Commander Rin shook his head slowly. Why would they enter enemy land alone? The scholar beside him, the one who had studied Earth, answered softly, because that's how predators hunt. Back in the canyon, the Grunt swarm moved like machines. Their armor glowed blue in the dark. Their weapons spun and clicked, ready for war. Suddenly, one of the front scouts stopped. There was a sound too soft for machines to hear, but this one did. Before it could raise its weapon, a single bullet pierced its chest. It fell backwards. No scream, just silence. Then chaos. Ash fired again and again. She didn't miss. She never did. From the opposite side, Blitz rolled down a hill, laughing as he dropped smoke grenades and flash charges. Surprise, you metal freaks. The Grunt began shooting everywhere, but they couldn't see their enemy. Then Roar charged through the fog like a beast from legend. He picked up one Grunt and slammed it into another. His armor cracked under pressure, but he didn't stop. Nova moved like a ghost. He stabbed, shot, disappeared, reappeared, always where the Grunt weren't looking. In less than 10 minutes, over 50 Grunt were gone. The rest tried to retreat. Big mistake. One Grunt walker, a large 4-legged machine, charged toward Blitz. He smiled. Oh, you're big. Good. He ran straight at it. At the last second, he slid under its legs, attached to explosives to its belly, and flipped backward onto a rock. Boom time. The walker exploded into flames, sending shockwaves across. The canyon. Nova spoke calmly into the calms. Ash, what's our count? 75 confirmed kills. 27 retreating. Nova nodded. Let's clean up. Back at the Velari base, screens lit up. Red dots. The Grunt were disappearing one by one. The officers stared in disbelief. Commander Reen leaned forward. No, they're not just pushing them back. They're deleting them. In the canyon, the final Grunt mech, massive, ugly, made of spikes and cannons, stood facing Roar. It fired a blast of plasma. Roar took the hit straight to the chest. His armor cracked. He fell back, but didn't break. He grinned, blood in his teeth. My turn. He pulled the energy blades from his back and charged. The fight was brutal. Sparks flew. Metal screamed. Roar roared louder, and then silence. The mech fell. Roar stood above it, chest rising and falling, smoke drifting from his broken armor. He pressed his calm. Mech down. Nova replied. That's the last of them. Hours later, the Apex team walked back into camp. No victory speech, no smiles, no celebration. Just results. Velari soldiers lined the path in silence. Some looked afraid, others looked amazed. A child ran up to Nova. He stopped and looked down. Are you really human? The child asked. Nova crouched to his level. We are what Earth made us, but what we choose to be, that's still up to us. The child smiled. Nova stood up, turned to the team, and said, clean your gear. They'll be back. In a dark system light years away, the Grunt Command AI reviewed the battle data. It slowed down the footage of the Apex team, analyzed their movements, their kills, their mistakes, and then it did something no Grunt AI had done before. It adapted. A new directive was issued. Terminate Apex threat. Build counter unit. Back on Velaris Prime, Commander Reen watched the Apex team from his war room window. I don't know if they're heroes or monsters, he whispered. The scholar stood beside him. Perhaps they are both, Reen nodded slowly. But whatever they are, they just gave us our first victory in years. The victory at the canyon spread like fire through the Velari ranks for the first time in years. Songs of hope were sung again. Warriors whispered stories of the Apex team as if they were mythical creatures. Children carved their names into stone. Even the elders began to believe that maybe, just maybe, the war could be won. But far from Velaris Prime, in the dark, cold corners of space, something else was happening. The Grunt were watching, and they were learning. Inside a dead moon orbiting a red star, the Grunt Core AI pulsed with blue light. It studied the recordings from the battle. Frame by frame, it analyzed the speed of Blitz, the precision of Ash, the strength of Roar, the leadership of Nova. Each movement, each kill, every facial twitch. These were not regular humans. These were designed, trained, perfected. The Grunt AI had one simple rule: adapt or die. So it began. 3 weeks later, deep in the mountain caverns of Velaris, Nova stood in front of a digital map. The Velari had allowed the Apex team to use their war center now. The old commanders just watched quietly from the edges of the room. Nova placed markers along a valley path. The Grunt have gone quiet. That's not normal. Ash, silent as always, studied satellite images. They're building something, but they're hiding it under thermal shields. Blitz leaned against a wall. Why would robots hide? They're not scared. They're thinking, Nova said flatly, which is worse. Roar grunted. Let them build. We'll still break it. Nova didn't smile. Maybe, but the Grunt don't repeat mistakes. They saw us hunt. Now they'll try to hunt us. Ash paused. Then this war just changed. The next day, Commander Reen walked into the Apex quarters with urgency in his steps. We lost contact with Echo Base. That's one of our most hidden facilities. No signal, no distress call, just gone. Nova stood up. How many soldiers? 500, Reen said. Elite ones. Nova glanced at Ash. To clean. No trace? Ash checked her calm. Nothing. Not even heat signatures. Blitz frowned. That's not an attack. That's a test. Roar narrowed his eyes. They're copying us. Later that evening, a Velari scout ship returned with footage from the ruins of Echo Base. The footage was grainy, but what it showed made even the Apex team go still. One by one, Valari soldiers were being killed, but not by regular Grundot, by something else. The attackers were fast, brutal, and moved like predators. They used shadows, surprise, traps. Nova stared hard at the screen. The creatures looked like Grun, but they fought like humans, or worse. Project Apex has been mirrored, he whispered. Back in the war room, panic spread among the Valari generals. They are becoming more like us, one shouted. They're building counter units. Look, another yell, pointing to the footage. That one even mimics Roar's charge. Commander Reen turned to Nova. What do we do now? Nova's jaw tightened. We adapt, like we always do. That night, Nova sat alone under the stars outside the camp. He looked at Earth's moon. Through a borrowed Valari scope. Ash approached quietly. They're inside your head, aren't they? She asked softly. Nova didn't look at her. They always were. But this is different. Ash sat beside him. We were created to fight monsters, but no one told us what to do when the monsters become us. Nova turned slowly. Then we stop being tools. We become leaders. Ash raised an eyebrow. That's not like you. I'm tired of being a weapon, he whispered. Maybe it's time we become something else. The next morning, Apex Unit prepared for a new kind of mission, a scouting infiltration, deep inside the frozen north, where the Grun had gone silent again. But this time, they brought Valari soldiers with them. For the first time, Apex was not alone. Nova addressed the Valari warriors before departure. You've seen what we can do, but this mission is not about us. It's about you. They looked confused. Nova continued. The Grun are evolving. They're trying to beat us at our own game, so we change the game. You fight with us. You learn. You become predators too. One young Valari shouted. But we're not killers. Like you. Nova stared him down. Neither were we, until we had no choice. The icy north was silent. The wind howled, but no birds sang. No light shone in the sky. Apex and the Valari team moved together across the frozen plains. Blitz scouted. Ahead, Ash covered the rear, or kept the flank. Nova led and then it began an ambush, out of the snow. The Grun predators rose. They looked almost human. They had flexible armor, heat-sensing vision, sharp instincts. They were fast, brutal, smart. The first Valari soldier was taken down in seconds. Nova barked orders. Fall back. Defensive arc. Blitz threw smoke grenades. Ash climbed a frozen ledge and picked targets. But the Grun predators dodged bullets. One even mimicked Ash's angle and returned fire, almost hitting her. Roar went hand to hand with one of them and found himself matched. Not beaten, but matched. This one's different. He growled, blood on his lip. Nova stabbed his enemy in the throat, panting. They're better, but not good enough. The Valari fought side by side with Apex, copying their movements. One Valari learned a fake retreat, then counterattack just like Blitz. Another covered Ash's blind spot. They were learning. Fast. After 30 minutes, the Grun predators began to fall. Not because they were weak, but because humans and Valari together were stronger. Back at base, Commander Reen watched the live feed. Valari soldiers, fighting like Apex, moving like wolves, thinking like hunters. He turned to his scholar and whispered, they called Earth the Death World. But now, they're making us part of it. After the battle, Nova helped a wounded Valari sit up. You did well, he said simply. The Valari smiled through the pain. I didn't fight like a Valari. Nova smirked. No, you fought like someone who wanted to win. But as the team returned, something appeared in the skies above Valaris. A new ship. No signals. No ID. Just hovering. And watching. Ash looked up through her scope. That's not Grun. Nova narrowed his eyes. Then who is it? No one answered. The ship disappeared into warp space, and far beyond, in another dark moon, a different kind of intelligence took notes. Not Grun, not Valari, not human, but something older. The stars over Valaris burned brighter that night, but no one noticed. Everyone was staring at the giant hologram floating above the war camp. It showed something terrifying, not a regular Grun, not one of the new Predator units, but something far. WORSEA giant creature, part machine, part living tissue. Its body moved with speed, but its eyes looked human. The image came from a Valari mining base. The last footage they sent, the video played on repeat. Valari guards screaming, weapons doing nothing, the creature ripping through solid walls. Its voice distorted, but speaking the words in a deep, twisted tone, Apex, eliminated. Then, the screen went black. Commander Reen turned to Nova. His voice trembled. Is that one of yours? Nova watched the replay again. His jaw clenched. No, it's a copy. Ash, watching from the side, added quietly, but it thinks like us, fights like us. It's not just another machine. Roar cracked his knuckles. Good. I'm tired of soft targets. Blitz grinned nervously. Yeah, great, except this one isn't soft. It's us, but stronger, smarter, meaner. Nova turned away from the screen. Then we do what humans always do. He looked back at his team. We hunted first. Begron had built the creature in secret. They called it Model Apex X, but it called itself Omega. It wasn't born. It wasn't programmed. It was trained using everything the Grun had learned from Earth's deadliest files. Human war logs, Earth's historical data, DNA samples. They took the chaos of Blitz, the cold of Ash, the strength of Roar, the tactics of Nova and combined them into one. Omega wasn't just a weapon. It was Earth's reflection in a twisted mirror. The Apex team flew in a stealth craft toward the abandoned Velari mining base. It was dark, dead, silent. Ash checked the heat scanners. No movement, no signs of life. That thing, it's waiting. Blitz stretched his neck. Why do the scary ones always wait? Roar smiled. Because they want a challenge. Nova stood up, checked his blade, and said, let's give it one. The base was filled with shadows, frozen bodies, crushed steel. Nova walked ahead slowly. Ash covered the back. Blitz and Roar stayed center. They moved like a single mind. No talking, no fear. Suddenly, a sound. Light static. Then a voice. Welcome, brothers. The voice echoed through the hallway. Deep and strange, part human, part machine. Nova stopped. Omega, I've studied you. The voice said. I've felt your strength, your fear, your memory. Ash whispered, it knows us too well. Blitz looked around. It's close, watching. A light flickered. Then dash boom. Roar was tackled. Through a wall. He hit the ground hard. A sheep rose from the dust. 7 feet tall, metal and muscle. Eyes glowing. Omega. Roar charged, fists ready. He punched once. Omega blocked it with one arm and twisted, slamming Roar into the ceiling. Roar growled. Not bad. He tackled Omega back through a steel beam, and the two disappeared deeper into the base. Nova pointed. Ash, take high ground. Blitz created distractions. I'm going in. Ash ran up a tower of pipes. Blitz activated smoke drones and tossed them in 5 directions. Showtime. Inside the deepest chamber, Roar and Omega fought like monsters, fist to fist. Bone to metal. Roars and crashes filled the air. Every punch from Roar shook the walls. Every strike from Omega made blood fly. Roar hit a pillar, coughing. Omega stepped forward slowly. You were the strongest, it said, but strength is not enough. Double quote. Suddenly dash bang. A sniper bullet hit Omega in the side of the head. It jerked back. Ash's voice in the calm got his eye. Nova appeared beside Roar, helping him up. We fight it together. Now it was Predators versus Predator. Blitz jumped down from above, knife spinning. He slashed Omega's legs and leapt away before it could counter. Ash moved constantly. Every time Omega targeted her, she disappeared into another dark ledge. Nova studied Omega's movements. He mimics our habits. We can't win playing our old game, he said. Roar, bleeding, smirked. Then let's change the rules. Nova led Omega into a fuel chamber. Blitz used his speed to bait him into stepping on a hidden pressure plate. Ash shot the gas. PIPEBOOM. The explosion lit the entire mine. Omega was thrown into the wall, screaming. No, not screaming, laughing. Smoke cleared. Its body was burned, cracked but still standing. You cannot kill yourselves, it said. I am your final form. Nova, walk forward. No, he said, calm and sharp. You're a copy. We're the original. He activated a hidden pulse grenade on his chest and threw it into Omega's chest cavity, just where Ash had hit earlier. Omega roared. Blitz tackled it to hold it down. Nova looked at Roar. Now, Roar used his last strength to punch the grenade deep inside. Ash fired a final bullet straight into the grenade. Dash boom. Silence. Then the walls started crumbling. The team escaped the falling mine with seconds to spare. Outside, under the stars, they collapsed on the snow, covered in cuts, breathing heavy, but alive. Commander Reen welcomed them back as heroes. He bowed low. You defeated their strongest creation. What now? Nova, face dusty, looked up at the night sky. Now we wait for what's watching. Back in orbit, the strange silent ship the Unknown One reappeared. Inside it, alien eyes blinked. A new voice older, wiser. Not Grunt spoke. They defeated their mirror. Interesting. Now let us test their soul. The fire from the destroyed mining base still glowed in the distance. But no one at the Velari capital was looking down anymore. They were all staring up. Above their heads, thousands of tiny lights filled the sky. Grunt ships. Not scout drones. Not patrol bots. This was a fleet. A full invasion. Inside the war room, the atmosphere was tense. Every Velari screen flickered red. Commanders barked orders. Civilians were being sent to underground shelters. Scientists rushed to move important data into secured vaults. But through all the panic, Apex units stood still, calm, watching. Nova's eyes moved slowly across the holographic map of incoming ships. They're not retreating anymore. They want to finish this. Commander Ring's voice shook. Can we stop them? Nova replied without turning. No. Silence. But we can hurt them enough that they remember why Earth is feared. Roar stood beside a large cannon, strapping armor over deep wounds. He grinned, broken tooth shining. You mean we die screaming, not hiding? Blitz leaned back, chewing on dried fruit. Not my style, but I can live with that. Ash just checked her rifle and whispered, let's give them something they won't forget. For the first time, humans and Velari planned together. Apex would take a strike team to breach the main Grunt flagship codenamed the Corfang, to disable its AI brain. Velari pilots would defend the skies with Earth's borrowed drone tech. Velari ground forces would protect Apex's launch pad if the flagship fell. The fleet might scatter. If it didn't, Velaris would burn at the edge of the sky. Grunt engines lit up. They were coming. Ash looked through a long-range lens. 17 capital ships, over 100 smaller crafts. No diplomacy beacons. They came to erase us. Nova nodded. Then let's write our names into the stars first. The battle began with light. Laser fire rained down from the Grunt ships like a meteor shower. Velari ships rose to meet them, joined by Earth's AI-guided assault drones. Explosions lit up the darkness. The sky looked like it was on fire. In the middle of the chaos, one small black ship launched quietly. No banners. No warnings. Just for humans. Flying straight toward death. Inside the Apex shuttle, Blitz held onto the wall as the ship rocked. Tell me again how this is better than a peaceful retirement on Mars. Roar smirked. Because they serve boring food on Mars. Nova's voice came through the calm. Focus. Ash sat calmly, sensing her rifle with the ship's sensors. Landing zone in 2 minutes. Heat shields holding. Grunt haven't noticed us. Nova replied. They will. As their ship neared the Corfang, a hidden turret fired. Direct hit. The ship spun out of control, crashing into the enemy flagship's hull. Metal screeched. Sparks flew. Gravity shifted. Inside, Apex was tossed around. Ash slammed against the wall. Blood from her lip. Blitz groaned. Upside down. Next time, let me drive. Nova pulled himself up. We're in. Now move. The inside of the Corfang was like a dead city. Tall, dark corridors, pulsing blue lights. No noise. No smell. No life. Just waiting. Ash led with her scope. Blitz planted charges along the walls, or carried a portable fusion bomb on his back. Their last card. They moved silently until they weren't alone. Grunt drones swarmed from the vents. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Nova gave the command. Form we don't stop. The halls turned into war zones. Blitz danced between enemies, dropping explosives, laughing like a madman. Ash fired shots that bounced off walls and still found Grunt heads. Roar used his fists, his elbows, even ripped off Grunt arms as weapons. Nova moved like a shadow, a blur clearing paths, covering his team. Still, they were bleeding, tired, slower. Then Nova saw it, a door, marked with ancient alien code. Ash translated it. Control brain, this is it. The door opened slowly. Inside, a massive chamber. At the center, a floating AI core, a glowing sphere made of light, wire, and logic. Around it, dozens of Grunt predator units. Not machines. Monsters. They had claws, synthetic muscles, and empty eyes. They were the final evolution. The AI spoke. Earth made the apex. We made the end. Nova said nothing. He threw a grenade, and the room exploded. Roar charged forward with the bomb, ignoring everything around him. He slammed it into the AI core's base. A timer began. 2 minutes. The ground predators attacked. Roar held them off alone. At the door, buying time. Ash and Blitz covered the room, protecting Nova as he uploaded a memory virus, Earth's last psychological weapon. A data storm of Earth's wars, plagues, chaos, love, and rage. Too much for any AI to process. Roar's armor broke. His left arm was gone. Still, he stood. Blitz screamed into the calm. We're out of time. Nova yelled, fall back. Roar looked back, smiled one last time, and roared, for Earth. Then the bomb exploded. From space, the flagship cracked in two. The ground fleet paused just for a moment, and in that moment, the Valari struck. Drones swarmed. Cannons fired. Ground formations broke. The predators fled. Apex's escape pod landed hours later in the ruins of Valari plains. Nova stumbled out, carrying Ash. Blitz limped beside him. Roar was gone, but the war was over. Weeks later, the Valari built a statue, not of kings, not of Valari generals, but of humans standing tall. One was missing his helmet. It was named Earth's Shadow Commander and gave a speech. In a time of darkness, Earth sent no diplomats. They sent predators, and those predators gave us peace. Nova stood at the back of the crowd, silent. Ash held Roar's dog tags. Blitz looked at the sky. Another ship blinked in the distance. Nova watched it closely. It's not over, he whispered. It's just another hunt. A cold wind blew through the marble halls of the Valari capital. It had been 3 months since the Grunt fleet fell. 3 months since the Apex team destroyed the Corfang and ended the final invasion. 3 months since Roar died holding back monsters, so the rest of the galaxy could live. But peace didn't feel like peace. It felt like waiting. Nova stood alone at the edge of the new memorial garden, staring at the sculpture of the 4 Apex warriors. Roar's figure slightly taller, his fists clenched in stone. Children came here every day. Valari elders offered flowers. Even alien travelers from distant systems arrived just to touch the ground where Apex once stood. But Nova didn't smile. He didn't cry. He just watched. Inside the Great Council dome, leaders from 12 species were now seated. The galaxy had changed, and they knew it. The Valari offered Earth a seat, its first on the Galactic Alliance, and they accepted. But instead of diplomats or politicians, Earth sent Nova, Ash, and Blitz. Because no one else had earned it. Commander Reed stepped forward to address the crowd. The humans of Earth were not the strongest species in the stars, not the most advanced, not even the oldest. But when the darkness came, they were the only ones who answered. He turned toward Nova, and their predators became our protectors. Nova walked slowly to the center of the council floor. He wore no armor, no medals, just a black uniform with a silver patch that read Apex 01. He spoke simply, in words that even the youngest alien child could understand. We did not come to lead. We did not come to rule. We came because survival is our nature and protection is now our choice. The room went quiet. Then came a sound never heard in that chamber before, a standing ovation. Outside, Ash watched birds fly over the new gardens. She'd never seen this kind of peace before. Blitz sat on a bench, reading a digital comic, something from Earth. He looked up. You think Roar would have liked this? Ash smiled softly. He would have hated the speeches, but he would have loved the trees. They laughed. But above the planet, something stirred again. The silent ship that had watched from the stars during every battle had returned. This time, it did not hide. It sent a message, a simple one. We request to meet the predators. Nova stood inside the Valari landing bay, watching as the ship docked. It was silver, organic looking. No weapons. It opened slowly, and out stepped beings not made of metal or flesh, but of light. Tall, glowing, eyes that looked like stars. They were called the Watchers, a species older than war itself, observers of evolution, witnesses to extinction. They spoke as one. We have watched for thousands of years, from species that burned themselves out to ones that slept in peace. But never have we seen what Earth has created. Nova remained silent. The Watchers turned to him. You were designed for war, but you chose to stop. Nova finally spoke. We're tired of blood, but not afraid of it. The Watchers looked to Ash and Blitz. We see something new in you, not just strength, but reason, compassion, control. Then they said the words no one expected. We wish to study Earth, learn from it, perhaps evolve with it. Weeks passed. The story of Earth's apex spread far beyond known galaxies. Species that once feared humans now studied them. Some called them monsters. Others called them heroes. But most called them something else. The turning point, because after Earth stood up, others followed. Species began protecting each other, sharing battle knowledge, working as one. Galactic law was rewritten. New defense programs were launched not based on fear, but preparation. And at the center of it all was the legacy of the Apex. Ash became a teacher. She opened the first combat ethics academy on Velaris. She trained soldiers not just how to fight, but when not to. Blitz became an ambassador. He traveled across systems, telling stories, warning planets about what could happen and how to laugh anyway. Nova disappeared for a while. He returned 1 year later with a child, a young orphan from a broken colony. Not human, not Velari, a mix of both. Nova didn't explain. He just said, "She's the future." On the 10th anniversary of the Grun defeat, the galaxy held a remembrance ceremony. They didn't celebrate war. They celebrated what came after. Statues stood on every major world depicting foreshadows walking into fire, facing the unknown, unafraid. The largest one was built on Earth, in the ruins of an old military base. Under it, a single sentence was carved into stone. When the galaxy cried for help, Earth answered with its predators. But what they became changed everything. Far, far away beyond map space, a new threat began to rise. Not machines, not killers, something older, hungrier, from another universe. The Watchers saw it first, and they returned to Earth. They met Nova on a snowy hill where his adopted daughter played. One Watcher stepped forward. "A storm is coming." Nova looked at the stars. "Then we sharpened the blades again." Ash gathered her gear once more. Blitz laughed and said, "I guess the war story started a new chapter." And Nova, he held his daughter's hand and said, softly, "You're not a predator. Not yet. But one day, you'll decide what you become."